Fantasy football universe, welcome in. We are back. It is college game day. Saturdays have not gotten better since waking up on Saturday mornings and watching like the X-Men cartoon. But we got a special guest here with us today to talk about some of your top 25 teams going into today. So let's get right into it right after the intro. Woo! My man Billy, one of my IDP guys. There's redraft DGens, right? People that love redraft fantasy football leagues. There's IDP DGens, people that love defensive players in dynasty. C2C, and I think for the most part, I feel like we are the definition of the true DGens because we're in the DEVY Superstar League, and it's a C2C IDP league. So we got college defensive players, NFL defensive players, college rosters. It's full going. It's going into year 3, I believe. But man, I'm super stoked to have you on the show today. Talk about the games going on. College football is back. Game day is here. We have a full slate of games here today. But before we get into it, I see you're rocking the Oklahoma Sooners jersey. Talk to me about your Sooners. They had a great game yesterday. What did you see about it?
Yeah, I mean, big win last night. Jackson Arnold started out like incredible. I mean, I thought he was going to be like Sam Bradford, complete his first like 20 passes in a row. It got a little shaky. I think they were trying some things that weren't necessarily working, but I think it was just they're feeling out the offense. This is his first game that he was like truly meant to be the starter in. So it was kind of exciting to see him out there. Taylor Tatum had a really big drive in the fourth quarter, which I mean, it was against Temple, fourth quarter. Who knows how hard they were actually trying. But it was very encouraging to see. He's the first true freshman 5-star since Adrian Peterson. So that's got a lot of people in Norman very excited. He looked pretty good on that drive. The wide receivers, Deion Burks. I love him. I love him so much. He's really good. He transferred in from Michigan State, and I'm in love with the guy, especially since we lost Jaden Gibson for the season. So it's nice to know that we have at least a pretty decent roster of wide receivers. Jaleel Farouk actually broke his hand or foot in the game. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks after that. He was kind of a guy I was like leaning on as like a flex play, potentially seeing where he could go this season. But that kind of sucks. But the rest of it, everything was all good. The defense is incredible. I can't wait. There's going to be a lot of IDP players on this team.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off some of that, Farouk, man, I did not know he broke his hand there. That's big because I think he would have been a solid contributor. But that means open some room for Nick Anderson. You also have freshman wide receiver Zion Kearney there as well. And then you talked about defense. I mean, Danny Stetson, the linebacker there, did something pretty cool. During the week, I can't remember if it was this week or last week when I saw it, but he gave away, I think it was like $50,000 of his NIL money to 18 guys that weren't on scholarship and gave them, separate that. So I thought that was pretty awesome, just a leadership move there. Taylor Tatum, man, I think he was really one of the more slept on backs, and maybe a lot of people were really heavy on Gavin Sawchuk. And I know Sawchuk saw the carries early, but they had, I think the split was just 6 and 6, if I'm not mistaken, as far as rushing attempts. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in the following weeks, considering Tatum really did it like in the fourth quarter. The blowout already happened, right? So it's like what was really happening there. So will they kind of lead on that momentum, or will Sawchuk still get that early on work? I think Sawchuk will still, but I do believe by end of season, Tatum may be the bigger factor there, so that would be big.
Yeah, for sure. It really depends on what they're going to do with the red shirt. I assume they're not going to use it on him because I think we need all the help we can get in the SEC, but they might do that. The O-line is atrocious. I mean, they have got to figure something out there. I know they've had some injuries. They had an injury in the game, even, which did not help anything.
Right.
So that's going to be something to watch the whole season. Luckily, Jackson Arnold's very mobile, and
Yeah.
hopefully they don't need the O-line to hold up that much. But the SEC defenses are no joke, so they're going to have to figure something out quick.
Well, the one play too that stood out was it was just he got hit on the play and he just threw a dot to Burks for the touchdown. If I'm not mistaken, it was Burks. And that was just a beautiful play, and that's something you love to see in the quarterback. You know, someone that doesn't really lose the confidence when they're in the pocket, when it's collapsing, and when the pressure's coming on. Right, he just stood confidently and just said, "All right, I'm just gonna." Throw it up, right? And he made it, and it was a beautiful play, and it became a touchdown, I do believe. So that was pretty awesome, you know, to see that kind of confidence there. A lot of people have him as the QB1 of the 2026 class, and I really think it's possible. There's a guy we're going to talk about later on today that I have as the QB1, but you know, Jackson Arnold definitely is a quarterback to have on your radars for sure. But let's get into
one more note. Also, Bauer Sharp, if he's somehow on somebody's waiver wire out there in DEVY or in Kansas Campus to Can, whatever, pick him up. He looks like the real deal. We haven't had a good tight end in a while, like one that was really a notable guy since probably Mark Andrews. And I loved everything I saw from him in the first game, and they were really using him to get open and actually score. So he might be a guy. I don't know. This is here with our team.
I'm glad you said that too, because tight ends are not as, I don't want to say as relevant in C2C.
Yeah.
But you just don't see it a lot because in college football, you don't see the production as you will like with your NFL top tight ends, right? It's not, they're
unless
not
it's Brock Bowers, no.
Right. And that's just Bowers for sure.
Right.
And so having like in C2C, when I'm looking at my tight ends, I really think about, okay, what can I think of you doing at a pro production? Like, I don't really, I just want you to get me 2 or 3 points in the C2C form, in the college format, but at the pro production, I want you to do it. So if, you know, this guy is someone that can step up and just continue to elevate, that'll be huge for them. So good call out there. Let's get into today's slate. We're going to start with the early matchups, and then we're going to go, you know, move forward down the line down today. But first on the ballot, Clemson, number 14 versus Georgia, number 1 in the preseason rankings here. Georgia is favored by 12 on ESPN right now. They are minus 12. Tell me some of your thoughts about this game.
I'm kind of interested to see what Clemson looks like. I mean, they're kind of predicting this to be a blowout. Georgia's, I mean, other than Carson Beck, the offense is like a bunch of guys that we don't know. Trevor Etienne is suspended for this game, so he won't even be out there. I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to replace basically their entire offense. You know, Brock Bowers gone, Rosamie Jack Saint's gone. Like, I'm kind of interested to see what this Georgia offense looks like now that they have most of those guys gone. But Carson Beck is a lot of people's QB1, not mine personally, but a lot of people's QB1. So I'm kind of curious to see what the Georgia offense brings, because Clemson is not a pushover. Like, I guess they're kind of predicting that, but it's I don't see it that way. They've got a lot of good potential IDP stars on this defense.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about not being a pushover. You have linebacker Barrett Carter. You have Tamarian Parker at the line too, so they're gonna bring the heat, you know. And Georgia's notoriously had a good offensive line, so they should gather that protection there for back there. But if Clemson can gather some pressure, that could spell some heat. You know, it'll be interesting to see what they do in their backfield with ETN out. He's only out for 1 game. You know, got a DUI. Don't drink and drive, kids. But that's that. Yeah, that's a big one though, because I know they have Roderick Robinson. Branson, I don't believe Branson's healthy either, if I'm not mistaken. He might be, but I don't think he's banged up. He was banged up there in the offseason. Nate Frazier, freshman, in there as well. They have a plethora of running backs that you can have. And then I think the interesting thing here is I actually have Benjamin Urasek, the tight end, for an anytime touchdown. I think that's going to be someone that can do something great, you know, for this season. You know, I do like Oscar Delp as well, but with them bringing in Urasek, I expect him to have a solid contribution to the offense there. It's really the big thing is I want to see, like you said, what Clemson does. What does Cade Klubnik do? Because I've 2 years ago, I was on the Cade Klubnik train. It's like, oh, this guy looks great. He's going to be a phenomenal quarterback. Last year, he slid down my rankings. So now it's like, all right, bro, what's going to happen here? What are you going to do to boost your draft stock and exactly tell me what you can do? And I don't necessarily expect Clemson to beat Georgia, but even in a loss, you can still show out and do some good things, right? So even if they don't lose, if they don't win, it's still I want to see what K Klubnik can do, how he can maneuver the offense. If they're down 14-0 early, how does he come back from that, right? The going through the battles on the field as well will be big for him. And really just exploiting some open areas. Georgia did lose a lot of key defenders, but they also got a lot of good defenders back. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be very nice to see what they do. They have Jalen Kilgore there. No, excuse me, that's South Carolina. They have Ellis Robinson, who's a freshman there as defensive back. They have playmakers on their defensive side of the ball and offense. So do you buy the -12? Do you think it's a blowout, or are you taking that on Clemson?
I personally think it'll be closer. I think it's a 10-point game. I don't think it's 12.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah,
can be honest.
I think people are sleeping on Clemson. The benefit is they're in Georgia, right? So that would be huge for
Yeah.
them. But I think people are definitely sleeping on Clemson. I think there could be more things to go there as well. Let's move forward onto our next matchup for a top 25 team. That's going to be number 8 Penn State versus West Virginia. Right now, Penn State is favorite -7.5. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'd honestly, a lot of people are picking this to be a potential like upset pick or for West Virginia to cover. I just don't believe it. I mean, sorry, I just don't. I love this Penn State offense. I love. I mean, I wish they would show more. Drew Alar is. We have a lot of big promises to fulfill with him coming into this season, but this will be his best chance to show that he's not joking. But Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen, I love both of those guys. And Julian Fleming coming in from Ohio State, I think will really help that offense as well. And the defense is pretty much, I mean, they lost a couple of guys to the NFL, but still have Abdul Carter. Like, I still believe in this defense as well. I don't think this is going to be an 8-point game. I think it's going to be closer to what it was last year, which I know that they pulled out late, but it was a 21-point game. I don't think that this is going to be much different, even though it's in West Virginia. I just think this is going to be a blowout, and I don't see it like everybody else sees it, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we know Penn State offense is going to run through the running backs, right? And Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, they even brought in a freshman and Quinton Martin there as well. And I don't expect Drew Alar to really air it out, but I would love to see that because I do want to see him definitely step up, because right now I don't feel that the offense is his. The offense is the running backs, right? Even though he's a quarterback, it's like he can throw 12 times a game, but I know they're rushing for 25, 30 times between two backs, right? And those backs are being efficient in their rushing as well. On West Virginia side, running back Jaheim White, I think, is a playmaker, and he's someone that's very elusive and can get through the gaps so very easily as well. So that's going to be someone to watch. Then you also have a wide receiver in Hudson Clement, who, really came on last season and earned himself a scholarship by just doing really well with the quarterback Garrett Green. So, I like Penn State here as well. Being in West Virginia is kind of tricky, but I just don't see West Virginia's defense being able to hold Penn State's running backs. I think they can do some things against, Drew Alar, just because I haven't been impressed with Alar. So I think you could get maybe a turnover or two on Alar. But end of the day, I mean, they're just going to run it down their throats, And the benefit with them, what Penn State does so well is they have their workhorses. Don't get me wrong, Singleton and Katron both had their games that season, but they also have both running backs that they don't have to overwork their running backs, in the sense that it can be like, all right, Nick Singleton gets 3 or 4 carries. Now let's bring in Katron. He's going to get 3 or 4 carries. Singleton's going to get a breather. So they're just staying fresh the whole time. They are getting massive amount of carries, but it's not like, your heavy workload where it's like over 200 or whatever, where they're just filling. It's just that they have people that like, hey, coach, take me out. I need to catch my breath. Okay, cool. Yeah, go here. Katron's in, whatever it may be. So that'll be exciting to see there as well. I think they cover that though. I think they'll cover that spread for sure. Penn State, I'll take that one. And then so let's see, next one on the list, Iowa, number 25 versus Illinois State. Iowa's favorite 23.5. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm already back on the under. I'm on the under train. I don't believe in this Iowa offense. I know that they have changed the offensive coordinator out from the Nepo baby, but I still don't believe in it because it's led by Cade McNamara, and I don't trust him at all. So I think this is going to be a defensive scoring game. They don't have their incredible punter anymore, so that advantage might be taken away. But I don't know. I'm heavy on the under in this game, and that's it. I think it's at 40. It was at 41 when I put that bet in. But yeah, that's my only real lean on this game. It's kind of other than Luke Lashley, I don't know who else to look at on this team.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, one of my linebackers this year is Jay Higgins. You know, he's went up, last season, and Iowa produces linebackers, as people know as well. Jay Higgins is going to be the next guy up. I mean, he's all over the field, and if they are going to cover the spread, it's going to be because that Iowa defense just steps up and they just do what they do, and they're very solid. At any given time, because of the Iowa defense and what they can do, I think they have an opportunity to do a lot of upsets this season. I'll take them here. 23.5. To be honest, I'm not quite familiar with Illinois State's game, so I mean they should beat this, but it's college football. Anything can happen. And being ranked 25, it's like, all right, what you said. That offense. There's a lot of unanswered questions in that offense to see what exactly they'll do. And week one really is hard. As much as we're talking about week one and what we like, we can't really take what happens in week one for the rest of the season, right? We have to wait at least 3 or 4 weeks to say, like, okay, this is how the team really operates. This is what they're doing. Because week one, for a lot, it's 0 weeks still, right? It's a lot of teams where you're not going against top 25 ranked teams, conference teams even, so it's gonna be very hard to say, like, oh, if Iowa comes out here and blows them out, oh, they're the greatest team ever. I mean, it's Illinois State, right? So no offense, Illinois State, I hope y'all do well, but it's like you can't really do much on that and expect to see a lot. Be like, oh yeah, Luke Lashley is 100 yards in this game. Oh, he's a tight end going crazy. That's again Illinois State. So yeah, I don't have big news on this one.
I can confidently say I will not watch a minute of this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch the highlights of Jay Higgins here and see what it is. These are the games where it's like, all right, I want to see Jay Higgins snaps or Luke snaps, stuff like that. Not watch the full game, unless it's on like the red zone kind of screens on YouTube TV, and it's like it just pops up. It's like, okay, I'll see it. Speaking of QB1s earlier, Jackson Arnold QB1 2026. My QB1 plays today too, and that's Chattanooga versus number 15 Tennessee. Tell me your thoughts on this game.
Okay, I threw me for a loop there, Nico. I don't know how to say his last name. I don't know if it's
Lamia.
Phonetic. Okay,
I think I could be wrong, but I believe that.
I don't know how to say it, but yeah, no, I love it. I really enjoy this Tennessee team. I cannot wait. I mean, Tennessee plays Oklahoma this year, so that's going to be a very exciting game to watch because I believe both of these guys is good. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what this team looks like now under Nico. The bowl game they played in, I think they played against Iowa. He was incredible. He was all over the field. And Squirrel White is my guy. I like that guy a lot. He hasn't really had the best quarterback situations to go through. I mean, he was really good when Hendon Hooker was there, but he was the 2 because Jalen Hyatt was there. But and then last year was just a total mess. I mean, Milton, the man can throw it a million miles away, but like those short intermediate passes were just not great. So I'm in on this team, and I can't wait to see them play today because Nico definitely is. There's a lot of buzz, so I'm kind of interested to see what he does. I mean, Chattanooga is not a problem, but I mean, just seeing him out there and playing would be great.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of buzz around him and what he can do for the team. They lost Joe Milton, they lost Jalen Wright. Squirrel Wright needs to step up for sure. I hope to see more of Nathan Leacock possibly. They used to probably Mike Matthews, freshman wide receiver as well. I believe Dylan Sampson will get the carries early on for the Tennessee offense. Nico's a very fluid athlete in the backfield. He kind of runs with elegance in the backfield, and he could throw, man. He has a good arm too. So with the way Tennessee's offense is set up, I believe this could benefit him, that kind of that spread offense, because Nico has that arm, but he also has the playmaking ability to extend the plays. I know Joe Milton can, but he's not as fluid as Nico is when it comes to extending the play. So I think the offense is going to look a lot better, a lot more cleaned up, if you will, with Nico in it. And then, I know people are heavy on Travis Hunter, and we'll speak on Colorado here just for a second because I know I'm not taking anything away from Shadori and Travis Hunter because a lot of people, they had a great game. A lot of people already say this is the best duo in the nation. Man, that was day one of this. We haven't even seen every other team play. There's a lot of opportunity there for them. People are saying Travis Hunter is being the 101 now. Honestly, if James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee comes out and balls out this year and just dominates on the defensive line and gets pressure all every game and has 10 plus sacks, right? I think that's the guy that people are gonna be looking at the 101 this year. So it'll be interesting again. Week one, there's a lot to unravel here. We're just excited to see them back on, so that'll be good. But yeah, I think Tennessee covers this. I mean, 38. Their offensive power is just too strong for a team like Chattanooga. And so I mean, I'm taking this without a question. So
easy.
Next one on here. Speaking of Oklahoma, South Dakota State plays the inner city rivals or interstate rivals, I guess I can say for Oklahoma. Oklahoma State University ranked number 17, and Oklahoma State is favored 9.5, which is rather close. But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, South Dakota State in recent years has won the FCS championship as well. So just like North Dakota, North Dakota State, they shouldn't be slept on. They play a solid defense. They know how to slow down the teams. But Oklahoma State has arguably the RB1 in the nation. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, all eyes are going to be on Ollie Gordon. I'm kind of surprised he's not suspended for this game. We're not going to harp on that too much, but he probably should be.
Yeah.
But anyway, whatever. He's probably going to go out there, run a million bajillion times, and have a lot of yards. The rest of this offense is very hit or miss. I'm not an Alan Bowman guy. I mean, I like him for like C2C game because like he probably will rack up a lot of points, but I don't think there's any prospects for the NFL from him. But Ollie Gordon's the guy. Like I'm obsessed with him. He's my RB1 right now. Unless Quinshon Judkins comes out and just completely makes Travion Henderson an afterthought, I'm probably going to stay that way because those guys are going to cannibalize each other's workload. But yeah, I'm an Ollie Gordon guy, so that's who I'm going to be focused on.
I agree. With Gordon, I think that's it. It's mostly because I think not that Quinshon made a mistake going to Ohio State, but it's like, now you have to split the carries, and last year, early on, they weren't feeding Gordon, and I was just saying in different leagues, like, man, just feed Gordon. Like, that's the answer, right? What happens when they start feeding him? That's the answer. Like, they just start doing really well, right? So, South Dakota State does have a good defense, but I don't expect them to slow down Ollie Gordon. I expect him to get off to a hot start and just dominate this season. Does he repeat his 1,700 yards last season? I think
so.
You think he does?
I think they're going to work him into the ground. Like, he's the only thing that's going to make this offense work. And I think he could get close.
That's fair. Well, let me see the exact 1732. I mean, that's hard to repeat, man. But yeah, I mean, he definitely is showed the workhorse mentality, the workhorse back. He can be there. Brendan Presley is a wide receiver to watch, for Oklahoma State because outside of Ollie Gordon, that's really the biggest one when it comes to what he could do for the team. He had 990 yards last season and 101 receptions. So a big guy, good playmaker there for them as well. But the game runs through Ollie Gordon. I mean, this is going to be a huge matchup for him to see what he can do, or not necessarily see what he can do, but to see if he gets off to a hot start. Because really, I mean, you talk about him repeating last year's numbers. He could have got more, but he was off to a slow start. They just weren't feeding him. So let him, and it could be a blowout early. So maybe they don't feed him as much, right? Maybe they're up 21-0 early, whatever it may be. And so like, all right, we don't have to. But if that's the case, that's a huge win for him there too. But speaking of top RBs, the next one on the ballot here is Akron versus number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State is favored to win. 48.5 points is the minus here. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I think they're going to easily cover that. This is probably the best team in the nation. I don't, just talent-wise, I don't see how. I mean, I know Oregon's good. I've been through the Dylan Gabriel experience, so I know.
Sure.
I have to see it first for him. He's got
For
some
sure.
better teams that he's going against this season, but Oregon's
True.
also a better team, I think, than Oklahoma is right now. But anyway, Ohio State wise, obviously we're ready to see the running backs. I don't think we're going to get a hint at what the workload's going to be in this game because I think it's going to be kind of like a couple of warm up drives and then maybe we just put them back into the garage.
Right.
But I am interested to see the quarterback, Will Howard, in there, see what he can do. Or is it the freshman? I don't. Did they even announce who
I
won
think
the
it's
battle?
Howard. I'm pretty sure it's
Okay,
Howard.
it is
Yeah.
Howard. Okay, well, I mean, I'm just interested to see what he can do. And anything has to be better than what we dealt with last season from Ohio State's quarterback.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see what we can do. I'm a fan of this team. Emeka Buka, it could be the wide receiver one this season. He's definitely could throw his hat into the ring. Personally, not me, but I mean, for other people, he could be.
He's top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Top 5. And I agree on the mindset of, we may not see a lot of Quinshawn and Travion just because of what it could do. We might see a couple carries here and there for him. Hopefully, with that being said, maybe we see a little bit more James People, who's a freshman there, running back. But then also Jeremiah Smith, if it's a blowout, do you still keep the freshman on the field? And I think that's big, especially with how much hype he has. Like he's in DEVY leagues, he's going as the 101, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him, considering he's a freshman, doesn't have as many reps in there. Emeka Ibuka, he hasn't been healthy, and that's been a big part.
Yeah,
and him missing out on opportunity. But I agree with you; he can be. If you're talking, you have to throw him in the hat when you're talking about the top wide receivers. When you're talking about Burden, when you're talking about Tet, you have to throw in Emeka Ibuka. Why? Because he's the next up out of Ohio State, which is too many wide receiver U. So he's the leader. He's the veteran there. They lost Noah Rogers. He went to NC State, but they still have Brandon Ennis. You still have Carnell Tate there. They have a plethora of good wide receivers there. So with it being a blowout, I'll be curious to see who's seeing the field there. Whether it be seeing more Brandon Ennis there, whether it be seeing more Tate or even Jeremiah Smith. But even, with Howard, with Howard starting, you mentioned the freshman, they have Julian Sam, but they also have Aaron Nolan, so who's really going to be, I'm not familiar with the full official depth chart on who's 1, 2, or who's 2 and 3. But both those guys, I would like to see them in the offense too, especially later in the game, just to see what they can bring to the table and what they look like under the offense, because that's, one of those guys is going to take over next year for sure. So that'll be exciting to watch there. But Ohio State easily covers this.
And the defense, by the way, this is the one team where like IDP is a plenty. You got Jack Sawyer, JT Tuilamalu. I don't know how to say that. I don't know why I try these names. I can't do it. Denzel Burke, Caleb Downs transferring in from Alabama, like Latham Ransom. I'm like, all of these guys could very well have very productive IDP careers in the NFL. So this is actually a team where IDP people can just park it, and this is a lot of guys you should pay attention to right here.
And Caleb Downs, speaking of him, to a lot of his people, he's going to be, the top safety in the class there, right? Just because of what he did at Alabama. And Alabama really took a hit on the chin. They did get some other players too, but they took a hit on the chin losing him to Ohio State. And now you have him paired with Denzel Burke. I mean, that, I'm throwing up Oregon over here. That's a scary secondary to go against, knowing you have a hard hitter in Caleb Downs, but you also have a shutdown guy in Denzel Burke there as well. So that'll be good. And all across the board, I think there are some fantastic IDP players for them. They have it covered on every level of the defense, from the defensive line to the linebacker to the secondary as well. So that's huge there. Now, next one on the ballot here. This one I think is, I think it could be closer to what it is. It's Colorado State versus Texas, who is number 4. Texas minus 34 is the favorite. I'm taking Texas to win, but man, I don't want to sleep on Colorado State. I'm a huge Torrey Horton believer.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think the really can come down to Nicolosi, the quarterback for Colorado State, and how much pressure Texas gets on him. But Torrey Horton, man, this guy is a yak monster, and if he gets the ball in his hands, you got to watch out for us. You got to account for him. What are your thoughts on this game?
I agree completely. It's going to come off as me being a hater because I'm an Oklahoma fan, but like this Texas team, like they lost a lot of production this last season. Like I know people are just like, well, just next man up. when have you known Texas to just do that? Like, I don't know. I don't believe it. Quinn Ewers, I still think is on the hot seat as a quarterback one. I think you give him a couple of a bad like games.
Yeah.
They may put Arch Manning in eventually. Like we at Oklahoma, we literally went through this with Spencer Rattler. Like Spencer Rattler did not lose any. He was just getting beat by Texas that one game, but he didn't lose any games up until he got benched, and then he never got the starting job back.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Quinn Ewers as much as everyone else does. They have a completely new wide receiver room, just completely new tight end, new running backs. They lost their top running back to injury this year already. I don't know. Am I crazy here? Like, it
no,
seems
that's
like
fair. That's fair. I mean, I think Quinn Ewers is on the hot seat, and that's not just. I'm not doubting his play. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he could be the QB2 of the class as far as like when he goes off the board. Not overall, but just when he goes off the board, I think he's a QB2 there. But at the same time, them losing Cedric Baxter was huge. That's a big blow. Heavy on Jadon Blue. I think Jadon Blue could have the Jonathan Brooks type of season and just be the guy that steps up, and that's the offensive weapon I'm most confident in. You hit on the wide receivers. Yeah, they lost Xavier Wardy. They lost Adonai Mitchell. They lost Tavian Sanders. Who do they have? Amari Black, Silas Bolden, Matthew Golden, and I'm pacing on one wide receiver. Wingo, is there as well. Cook, so there is. This is the again week one, but I don't think this is a slept on game. Out of the games we've talked about, this one is probably the closest. Excuse me there.
But I think it's gonna be closer than 34. I definitely. Sure. I mean, I think it'll be 3 touchdowns, but I mean, I don't think 35. I mean, Colorado State's not that bad, and I don't know. I'm gonna come off as a hater because I love Oklahoma. I don't know. There's a lot of new parts in this offense, and I don't think this is just a reload like Alabama. That's how it used to work. Texas is not Alabama. I'm sorry, it's not. So.
Yeah.
I have to personally see it first, and I think this is a good challenge for them to get going.
But even in a blowout victory, you can see some sloppiness, if you will. So this will be a lot of telltale signs and how Ewers is connecting with his wide receivers, how offensive line looks with the running game. I do like Texas defense. So if it is a 34-point spread, it's because Texas defense showed up, right? They have one of my top linebackers in Anthony Hill there. So that's going to be big for him. But I think Gordon can get a touchdown, maybe 2 here. And I think Texas can have a wake-up call early before facing an SEC team if they have some uncertainties when it comes to what their offense is doing. And I don't think if you were struggles heavy this game, then we might see Arch. But I don't think this is the game to really consider that.
No.
But it's something where I think you mentioned the hot seat. I mean, that's huge because Arch has been there. And he's been on the hot seat since Arch is there because now it's like, look, bro, if you mess up, that's cool. We're good. And with him being such a good guy, this is going to be something that we need to see there. So, that's huge there. But next one up on this one actually, I guess, should be the closest one. I keep saying I'm going up and now. But Miami, number 19 versus Florida. Miami is favored. -2.5 right now. What are your thoughts here?
I love Miami this year. So I kind of like last week when Florida State came in. I went on this like they got a new running back, they got a new quarterback, they have a brand new team because they lost all these people to the NFL. Miami's kind of doing the exact same thing, except for I actually believe in it. I love Cam Ward. I love his game. Big fan. Damian Martinez is my guy. Like that's my one prop bet of the day is over 72 yards. He did that in 10 out of 12 games last season, and I don't know why on a better team he couldn't do that now. He had to split work like in Oregon State, and now he doesn't have to do that. So I think this is a all hands on deck. Miami game, I don't see it being 3 points. I think Miami's going to win by multiple touchdowns. I just believe in them, and I don't believe in Florida. Florida has to prove it to me first. I just personally.
Fair. He does that split yet. I know Mark Fletcher is banged up, man, but that's been my guy since he came into the college football landscape. Mark Fletcher there, so that's someone I'm gonna be excited to watch when he gets healthy. But yeah, David Martinez, man, at Oregon State, he was dominant, so I love that bet there. Miami, it has something to prove here, right? With Cristobal there, Cam Ward, the wide receivers are there. You talk about a freshman and JoJo Trader, but you talk about Xavier Restrepo there. You talk about Nye Carr even. They have different weapons out there that can make some big plays. So that's gonna be nice to see there. I mean, it's gonna be big. Sam Brown, even Samuel Brown, is also there. So Elijah Arario, as their tight end, very huge landscape. Florida, I like Florida, but man, Graham Mertz. I don't like Graham Mertz. Like I just don't. He's
He had
not.
a good season last year. It's just like, do you trust him?
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think he had a good season, but when the game's on the line, I don't necessarily want it. Like I don't think he's the guy that could take it down the field and just win you the game. Like if he's winning the game, he can. You won't lose because he could keep you up. But I don't think he's the one that can take you down the field to win the final drive, right? And Florida has some unanswered questions, right? Like who's good? They have some good wide receivers there. I know they lost ETA, but they still have Montreal Johnson there, so that will probably be him. But even then, Montreal wasn't that great, right? So it's like, I mean, he was good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. He wasn't where, what ETN was for the team there. So I think Miami has a good defense too. One of my favorite IDP players is Ruben Bain. I've talked about him all off season as well. Just a phenomenal edge rusher that I think steps up and has a huge season. And to be honest, I'm on a DJ Lagway train. So I love DJ Lagway. Shout out Willis, Texas, my Texas boys. But that's somewhere where DJ Lagway, man, he's gonna start sooner than later because if Florida loses this week, so let me pull up their schedule real quick. Because I do have them losing this week, but I want to see their full schedule here. Let's see here. So this week, and then they have Sanford, so they should win that one. Okay. Then they have A&M. That's in Florida, so that should be good. But then they have Mississippi State, UCF, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia. They have a tough slate. And if he loses this week, and if he loses to A&M, I think we could see DJ Lagway in there by UCF, and that's just, again, I just don't feel Mertz has the traits to go win a football game. Like he's a good quarterback, but it's a quarterback that just is complacent in a sense where you're just happy that he's there because he can move the ball. He's not just stagnant, but I don't think he plays winning football. So, sorry, Florida fans. I just don't see it there. So
I agree. Also, I wanted to mention for Miami, Xavier Restrepo is probably one of my top 10 wide receivers in college football this season. And I'm going to be on him a lot this season, betting his over yards because I bet he's going to be disrespected. But Cam Ward, Restrepo, that's going to be a dynamite matchup. I can't wait for that to be this whole entire season to see that.
Yeah, Cam Ward has an arm, right? And we know Restrepo can stretch the field, but he also has some elusiveness when it comes to his route running too. So Cam Ward, I know at times his accuracy struggles, so hopefully he could throw a little bit better there with his arm strength there, just hit those dots, every time for Restrepo. But yeah, I love those takes there for him too. Yeah, so you think this is Miami covers this 2.5?
I think so. I think it's like a 10-point game. I would even sprinkle on like them to win by 10. I'm sure that's like, I don't even know, like plus 400 or something. But I know it's in Florida, so that's probably why they're giving them a little bit of. But
well, I mean, it's Miami. It's not. It's at Florida Stadium. I mean, you're still.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, you're not traveling that much, and I'm sure Miami's going to really travel well, especially to Gainesville. But
yeah,
I just don't. I don't know. I think this is Miami, and I don't know why they're being disrespected. Other than they do lose goofy games, like that's the only thing is they lose stupid games that they should win. Like that's the only reason, I guess.
There's a couple games where Cam Ward struggled during early on in the game, and then he couldn't bounce back. So I think that's big on him, just having that confidence again, take that leadership role and being like, look, man, like get your team around you in the huddle and be like, look, guys, we gotta go out there and perform on this next drive. So if they do get down, let's just say Florida comes out hot and gets up 10-0. What does Miami do to bounce back on that? And how do they do it? With Cam Ward under center as well, not losing focus or concentration there. Next one here, I know a lot of people are high on Malachi Corley, Western Kentucky here, but they're playing Alabama, number 5. Alabama favorite, 31.5 right now. What are your thoughts here?
I actually think Western Kentucky might hold this one, hold it within 31 points. I know that they did lose Malachi Corley, and I believe they lost their quarterback Austin Reed too to the draft.
Yep.
I think. But I honestly I know Alabama's going to beat them down. I know it's going to be a beat down, but I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be a 4 touchdown game and not necessarily a 5 touchdown game. I do think it's odd that they're giving Alabama. I think Vegas wants to see Alabama do it. That's why they gave them this, because normally if this was Nick Saban, this was same thing except with Nick Saban. This is a minus 42, minus 45 game. But because it's a new coach, I mean, we do know the quarterback and everything, but I think they want to see it first. And I kind of feel like I'm in the boat with Vegas there. I kind of need to see him do it first.
I think Alabama at 5 is too high. What are your thoughts on that at 5?
I think that's true. I think they're getting the benefit of the doubt, which I don't know how you can do that necessarily yet. They're going to be a good football team. I'm not going to lie and say that they're coming to Oklahoma. Ask me if I'm scared. I'm not. Right. I'm not really that scared. It's something about Nick Saban not being there where I'm Jalen Milroe, I mean, how good is he really? I mean, they lost Isaiah Bond. I mean, come on. Are they really that? That's how I'm feeling. And I don't know why any team going against them would feel that way either. And I think Western Kentucky can keep this close. I'm not saying it's going to be a game, but I mean, could they lose by 30? Sure.
DeBar did, their head coach there now did kind of rejuvenate Michael Penix, right? So can he do something different here? It's just Miami. The thing is, Alabama has notoriously been a physical team, right? They've been something that loves to pound the rock, right? They have solid running backs and they know how to get through their running backs as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing there on that avenue, just to make it known as it is Jim. I think it's Jim Miller. He might be banged up. Is he playing? Don't check here. Because I know Justin Hayes is someone to watch as well. I believe Jim Miller's playing. So that should be big for him. But, I just don't a lot of answered questions. Jerry Bernard, is he going to be one of their top wide receivers for them this season because he came with the head coach from Washington there? Shout out my guy Nino Brown. He's always said it's not about the coach that takes after Nick Saban. It's the coach that takes after that coach, right, to see what they do. So I think 5 is too high. I think they are riding the Nick Saban train. And, I mean, you have a guy that went to the national championship, right, as your new head coach, but you're in the SEC. It's not the
and they lost Ryan Grubb to the NFL, so there's your offensive coordinator gone. So I don't know. I don't know.
It'll be interesting, but covering it. I mean, defense. I think Alabama still some playmakers on defense. Excuse me. They have Deontay Lawson at the linebacker, who's a solid one that can definitely stuff it and get pressure on Western Kentucky. Losing Austin Reed will be big. To the draft. Yeah, he I don't think he got drafted, but he definitely did declare and is in the NFL now. Next one here, Furman versus Ole Miss, 6. Ole Miss fair 42. Thoughts here?
I think this is going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be close. I'm excited to see Jackson Dart this season. There's a lot of mixed feelings on him as a quarterback. Not necessarily some people think, oh, he's great. Some people are like, I don't know. I'm interested. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a chance to prove himself out there first. I really like Juice Wells. I think he might be banged up for this game, though. I know he was questionable, at least. Trey Harris is a dude. He is really good. I can't wait to see him play. And then the running back room is a whole ass mess, in my opinion. I don't trust any of them that are there right now. But I can be swayed if you think that there's one of these guys that you believe in.
I mean, I'll be biased here and say Ulysses Bentley because he is from Houston. So I'm originally from Houston. But I mean, they have Rashad almost there. They have Henry Paris there too. That's the biggest question mark. Who steps up since they lost Quinshon Judkins? But I also think I feel Dart's going to have that Spencer Rattler trajectory this year, where people may not be heavy on him, but come draft time, people will be like, "Oh, this is the guy. This is going to be the sleeper." I mean, right now, people
Yeah.
are speculating that the Vikings may trade for Derek Carr, so Spencer Rattler, because they like what they have in New Orleans. I think Dart has that. But above all else, this is Dart's season. No more Quinsant. So it's like, how are you leading this team? We're not going to find that out at Furman, but go out there and showcase your exploding offense and show that you can be a dominant team. Right now, I have Ole Miss ahead of Alabama. Like I think this is disrespectful to Ole Miss being number 6 to Alabama. Again, I get it, Bama, but you're living on Saban. You're not taking the fact that they lost their head coach. They lost, like you said, the OC as well. There's a lot of things that I feel weren't taken into those rankings, but I think Ole Miss, to be honest, is a dark horse to win the SEC as well. They have a solid defense there too. They got playmakers there that can make some huge runs for them in Princely Umanale, as well as their edge rusher, the defensive end. So that's going to be huge for them. I expect this to be nothing less than a blowout. I think they're going to go out there and just dominate them for sure.
Yeah, I'm not. This would not be the game I'm worried about.
Yeah.
if I'm an Ole Miss fan, but they should be good this year. I really think they need to get the run game going soon, though, because I could believe in Ulysses Bentley. I just need to see it.
Yeah, 100%. Do you Trey Harris over or under 100 in this game?
I think that's I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over, but I don't know how long they're going to play. That's the toughest part. I think he's over, though. I think they're at least going to showcase him, and especially if Juice Wells isn't playing, I think that is that's even true. Easier. I guess I need to see if the injury report's out, but
this is a later game, so I don't think so yet. But yeah, that'll be heavy. Trey Harris there. I might say under just because I don't think he's gonna be on the field that long. I think it's a blowout early, and they're just like, all right, bro.
There is a good chance of that.
So let's see. Next one on here is UT Martin versus Kansas State, number 18. Kansas State favored 37. What are your thoughts here?
I don't know that Kansas State is going to cover. I see the problem with some of these football games, and I was with this with Oklahoma last night. Some of these spreads, the game's moving too quick for these spreads to get covered. It's just unless your offense is dot, dot, dot. Yeah. I don't know how some of these teams are going to cover because I don't think there's enough time in the football game to cover some of these spreads. So I'm just generally if it's plus 37, I'm maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the other problem on the other side of that is these other bad teams aren't scoring any points. So you can cover the spread if the other team doesn't score at all. So I am interested to see how this Kansas State team bounces back after losing Will Howard. But this game shouldn't be a challenge. I don't know if they're going to win by 37 though. But I'm going to be like that for every one of these big spread games.
But even on that, it comes down to they blow out the team early, so then they take out their starters. Now you have backups in there, and maybe the backups just don't produce to cover it. So maybe they're up 28-0, and the backups score another 6 points, so you don't get that third, right? Those kind of deals there. UT Martin does something because they take out their defensive starters, or whatever it may be. So I like that.
Oklahoma wasn't going to cover last night, and then Taylor Tatum decided to just be Adrian Peterson for one drive, and they covered right on that last fourth quarter drive. So it really could go either way like that.
For sure. Player to watch here, DJ Giddens, top running back. 2025 classes filled with running backs. I've been saying it for a while now that this running back class is going to be the next running back class that holds the NFL for the next 5 or 6 years. So DJ Giddens, player to watch. Might not get many opportunities here because it's UT Martin, but still see what he can do here. Next year, Idaho versus Oregon, number 3. Oregon favorite 43.5. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's gonna be a close game. No, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be a blowout. I can't wait to see. Oregon is one team that I trust that's actually going to cover the spread just because they keep their foot on the pedal the whole game, where a lot of teams might let's see what this person can do. Let's see what this person can do. Oregon's nope, we're gonna perfect what we're good at. So they're probably gonna leave everyone out there. I cannot wait to see Evan Stewart and Dylan Gabriel. That's going to be a fun connection to watch. And then Tez Johnson, I'm a big fan of him as well. Dylan Gabriel has the highest odds to win the Heisman right now. That scares me a little bit because the favorite going into the season never wins the Heisman. That just doesn't happen. But I do think he fits the criteria of who you would want to bet on to win the Heisman.
Fair. Yeah, I think with the thing I talk about Oregon, is they know how to utilize their playmakers. You look at every offense in the country, Oregon specifically plays to their guys' strengths, and not other teams do too, but like Oregon, every single time they get a new person in there, they play to their strength. What are you good at? We're going to focus on getting you better at what you're bad at, but what are you good at? Because that's your strength, and that's what we're going to work on. Evan Stewart, Dylan Gabriel, I know a lot of people, myself included, are high on Gabriel to finish store 4,000 yards, but that's just because Oregon offense can do that, right? They have guys that can get the yards after the catch, so that will definitely help Gabriel there as well. Benefit here is, with it being a blowout, I think they covered this because they have a very nice quarterback room too. They have Dante Moore sitting right behind Dylan Gabriel. You have Austin Novosad, who has some legs, even Luke Boga. Then you also have some wide receivers, Jeremiah McClellan, Jerrion Dickey there as well in the backup. Trayshawn Holden, I think Gary Bryant Jr. may be out. That's going to be big. And their defense, I've been covering Oregon all season with the CFP Nation called the O, but this is huge because they've been playing to get physical. So I think they're going to go out here and make a statement against Idaho. A statement game to say, look, guys, like y'all may have us at 3, but we're here. And I know this is Idaho, but this may be one of the bigger blowouts. And as you said, it's just because Oregon, regardless of who's on the field, they play like they're down. They play like every drive they need to go out there and score, and they need to score quickly, and they make it happen. And I don't see a transition going from Bo Nix to Gabriel there. I will see if anytime during the season, if Gabriel struggles, Dante Moore is there to relieve him, and I think that is a possibility if there is any kind of struggling. But Gabriel has it. He got number 8. He got the blessing from Mariota to wear number 8. So I'm excited to see what this offense does and what they look like playing against an actual team this year. So,
and by the way, anytime touchdown for Dylan Gabriel should always be on the table. That man loves to run the ball into the end zone, and they usually Vegas doesn't usually give him it's not like minus odds. It's usually like plus 200, plus 400.
Yeah.
That should always be at least one bet you're just sneaking in every game because he loves to run it in. I don't know if that's the kind of offense Oregon's going to run, but Bo Nix was a rushing quarterback a little bit near the end zone. So I think Dylan Gabriel kind of fits that as well. So that always should be at least something everybody's keeping in their back pocket during the season.
Well, I think it's just more about his feet, right? They might not to draw up plays for him to rush it, but I think he knows that when the pockets collapse and how to extend it and get out, and he could get some open field to get, when they're 10 yards away, go out there and get the touchdown. So I love that bet. That's a good bet. Yeah. A few more games here, but this one very interesting. Notre Dame number 7 versus A&M number 20. A&M favorite -3. Right now, if you're in College Station, they are going crazy for game day. This is the game of the day for ESPN. What are your thoughts on this game?
Sorry, I was doing one more time.
No,
Notre Dame versus A&M.
Yeah.
I see that A&M's favored. I don't know how you can trust A&M. I personally don't. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I like this team a lot. I like the coaching staff. I like the new quarterback they have in there. I do think he needs development. I can't believe a lot of people were saying he needed to be the QB1 in the class last season. It was kind of wild to me. But I do think that Notre Dame's going to cover this. I think they're going to win the game outright.
I mean, Notre Dame's right. They're calling this as the upset, and maybe it's because it's a College Station, so I get that because College Station is very loud there as well. But this is, Notre Dame. I mean, I feel there's still some. You lost the top wide receiver in Evan Stewart last year, right? So, who's going to step up to be that for Connor Wyman there? They lost their running back in Ruben Owens. Now it's Le'Veon Moss. Maybe we see EJ Smith being sprinkled in there. Maybe this is EJ Smith showing out to say, hey, look, I am going to be the next Smith, son of Emmitt Smith there. So that's going to be big for them as well. But Notre Dame, man, I think for whatever reason, I feel Notre Dame's always not necessarily a favorite unless they're playing a non-ranked team. But I think Notre Dame could cover this, and I think I wouldn't see this as an upset. Florida has a better chance of upsetting Miami, I think, than A&M upsetting Notre Dame.
I agree. Well, who on this Texas A&M offense do you trust? I'll wait because I don't think there's anybody. I do love their defensive end, Nick Scourton. He is potentially the DE1 in the class. I know a lot of people think it's James Pierce, but I think there's a little bit more of a battle than we might think going in. We didn't talk about James Pierce, but he's an elite defensive end. I think Nick Scourton is probably the only person on this entire team that I fully actually trust as a player. But they lost a lot on defense too. A lot of people transferred out. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get it. Like I guess I just don't know how they're seeing this. Is Notre Dame? I don't know. I guess I'm just being weird. I guess I don't know about that.
They have a solid linebacker there too, and Torian York, who's a sophomore linebacker there too. So adding a Scourton there from Purdue will definitely open up more because Scourton, man, he brings pressure. I did a Debbie Dash on him. This kid constantly gets after the quarterback. He has great maneuvers to swim around the blockers. So that's gonna be some pressure towards Riley Leonard there. So that'll be big. But I just it is the offense. I like Connor Wyman, but I just don't know what he's going with. I want to see what these wide receivers can do for him. And I need to see that he's a quarterback that can elevate his wide receivers. I talk about that for quarterbacks all the time, where it's like Jaden Daniels, for example. If we take away Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. last year for Jaden Daniels, does he still put up those numbers? I don't know. I feel like he had you put any quarterback behind there with those two wide receivers, they can go out there and ball. So that's why I want to see what Connor Wyman, like, are you the quarterback that elevates your wide receivers, or do you need a good wide receiver to look good as well? So Notre Dame is no doozy either. They have a good defense as well. So I expect this game to be very close. -3. I actually favor Notre Dame, so I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Next one,
my upset.
Yeah, let that Notre Dame win. Next one, Fresno State versus number 9 Michigan. Michigan favorite -21. What are your thoughts here?
I'm interested to see what Michigan's got. I mean, I like Donovan Edwards a whole lot. He's my guy, but Michigan pretty much lost the rest of their team, other than defense. Defense is a lot intact, like Rod Moore, but I think he might be hurt right now. But as far as the offense, we'll see what they got. I don't know. Lost the coach, lost a lot of the offense. Blake Corum's no longer there, their trusty running back. And I don't think they're going to be able to win the same ways that they won last season. Last season, they had a very good strategy. This season, we'll see.
Well, I think this season we're still going to look along their defense. Mason Graham is still there, who's you talk about Nick Scourton, the top defensive lineman, defensive end. Mason Graham, inside is a very good defensive lineman as well. He's just the pulse of that defense as far as what he can do, being a run stopper there. Alex Orji, I believe, is getting the starting rep at quarterback. I'm excited to see him because he's been someone that's been on my DEVY radar since he came into college football. He has some great playmaking ability. He has a strong arm. It's just the fundamentals, right? The little fundamentals that are there. Can he go out there and actually produce it and actually show it on the field too? So we'll see what he does there. And then also, you talk about Luke Lashley earlier. Michigan might have the tight end one of the class in Coastal Brooklyn. So that'll be big too. Again, week 1 against Fresno State, I don't expect us to have any answers or any questions answered necessarily here. I do think Michigan can't cover this spread. It will be a new look team, but I think they're going to rely a lot on their defense. Like Michigan, I think this year will be about how can you slow down the opponents rather than try to get down the field quick with your running games. I expect a big year for Donovan Edwards too, and I think this guy might be the biggest sleeper in the next class because he could have came out this past year, but he chose to go back again. So that'll be big for him. Last game for Saturday, but we have 2 more top 25 games. Last game for Saturday in the top 25, New Mexico versus Arizona, number 21. Arizona favored -30. What are your thoughts here?
This is one of my other potential Heisman quarterbacks right here in Noah Fafita. He potentially has the wide receiver 1 in college football. I'm not even gonna disrespect his name. Even trying. McMillan is his last name. I like this team a whole lot. I'm interested to see what they happen. They lost their coach, which is a little concerning because he took the Washington job. But now that they're in the Big 12, I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. I do like Lamonius Craig coming in from Colorado. He was a fun addition to this team. I don't know. I believe in this Arizona team. I think they're going to cover this spread. New Mexico is bad. They are bad.
And you talk about the head coach, and I saw this, and I personally did not do my research on this to make sure it was legit or not. But when Arizona's coach went to Austin, he said, at least in this note I saw, he was like, I came to Washington because they offered me more money. Like, bro, you don't say that. Like,
Yeah,
don't be that coach that says, oh, if Arizona would have offered me more, I would have stayed. Like, bro, get out of here. Like, I don't even want to see you in Washington. But I talked about earlier, people saying Hunter and Shadu are the best duo in the nation. I mean, Tet and Fafita are saying hold my beer, right? They're like, nah, man, like we're about to come out here and ball. Yeah. I will say I want to see who comes in and becomes the wide receiver 2 for Arizona, because I do believe a lot of Tet's production came because he had Jacob Cowart on the team. Jacob Cowart was a good wide receiver. I think he was an underrated wide receiver. Also a huge sleeper in San Francisco right now too. But I do believe that was a big part in Tet's production, just because he could come in. So that was really big for him, and I'm excited to see. I think they covered this spread. I think Tet has a massive year, but I do think it might be less to what we expect. The people are thinking a huge blowout because Jacob Coward's not there unless we see another guy step up at that wide receiver 2 position there.
It's be a good time to find that out. New Mexico, like I said, bad football team.
So get a blowout and take Ted out and be like, all right, who's stepping up here now to be top wide receiver? That covers it for our Saturday games, but tomorrow we have a big game as well. The Sunday game is USC number 23 versus LSU number 13. LSU favorite -4. That is too close. I am taking that all day. What are your thoughts on this game?
It's going to be a blowout in LSU's favor. I know that USC brought in UCLA's defensive coordinator, and that defensive coordinator is really good. They need a lot more help than that. I'm sorry. They need a lot more help than that. And replacing Caleb Williams is not an easy task. And other than Zachariah Branch, who I love, I wish he was in the draft this season because he could really boost this wide receiver collective in the draft. I just don't believe in them at all. I know they both had bad defenses last year, and we're going to see what they can do. But I think LSU's a better put together team, and that's even with losing a Heisman quarterback and potentially the best wide receiver in the draft. We'll see how that ends up shaking out when Malik Neighbors. But I still believe in this team. I don't know. I don't see what people are seeing with the 4 points.
No, for sure. USC shouldn't be ranked. Sorry, Trojans there. But they're living off of Caleb Williams. Miller Moss has a lot of unanswered questions. I love Zachariah Branch. I love Deuce Robinson. I actually enjoy Quinton Joyner there too. And their defense, you talk about, bringing a new DC, but they lost a lot of key defensive players that even there last year, maybe it was just the schemes that weren't doing it, but they lost some guys. So I think LSU absolutely annihilates this. I know a lot of people are high on Garrett Nussmeier. There are unanswered questions there. Like Nussmeier, we saw what he did in the bowl game, right, with Kyron Lacey. He connected with him a lot. You have CJ Daniels there too. You have Xavier Thomas and some other good wide receivers there as well. You have a solid running back room too. LSU might have the best defense in the nation. They have some solid playmakers on defense. Yeah, on paper, right. So that's true because last year they had a pretty solid defense on paper, but they were exposed a lot. I just don't think USC has the firepower as it did last year in the wide receivers and in the quarterback, right, with Miller Moss. So that's going to be good. And they also got a transfer in Jaden Maivia, who I think if Miller Moss struggles, Maivia can definitely take over that role and be their guy too. So, and the offense may look a little looser. We'll see. I want to see what Miller Moss does. I don't think USC should have been ranked this year going in, but I get it. You have your 101 last year Heisman candidate Caleb Williams. I get it, but I think this is a blowout. I'm taking this all day. LSU's gonna win here. So that's big.
I think so. I think it's going to be not 4. I think it's going to be like 10.
I think it's going to be early, man. Unless their secondary switched it up. USC got torched last year in their secondary. So, I mean, again, it's also LSU wide receivers, but I think we may see closer to 20-point difference. I just don't see USC defense coming out and just stopping LSU like that. So, we'll see. There's a lot of, again, week 1, so this could be it. And if upsets are going to happen, it's the ones that happen this early because you don't expect it. So it's very possible. We hit an hour. We hit all our top 25. I was gonna go through some other teams I was just interested in, But well, any thoughts? Is there any players that outside the top 25 that you're just interested in seeing what they're gonna do in week one?
Virginia Tech, Tootin. I don't know how to pronounce that last name either. I'm a terrible name guy. Like I see it and I'm just like,
Me too.
Yikes. But I'm a big fan of him. I think Virginia Tech's going to be a better team this year than a lot of people are giving them credit for.
Yep.
I'm also interested in Boise State with Ashton Jonty. I think that's a team that everybody should be watching. I'm a little interested also in the quarterback controversy there. How did Malachi Nelson, the number one quarterback 2 years ago, lose the starting job?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I thought he would have transferred. When you transfer to Boise State, I think you're assuming that you got the deal, like you got the job in the bag.
Right.
So I'm a little interested in that as well. If we see him at any point in the game, that'll be interesting as well. I'm really in on Boise State this year, at least watching them play football. And then Utah. That's another team that I think is not getting a lot of love right now. But Cam Rising's back for his 15th season in college football.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see what they can do this season. I think they have a really good shot at winning the Big 12 straight up. I think they're probably the best team there because their defense is ferocious and they got a really good coaching staff. And then they got Cam Rising. So those are a couple of teams that I'm really excited for this season.
Speaking on Boise State, I'm glad Malachi Nelson's not starting because next week they play Oregon. So, I mean, Les Max just goes out there and does horrific. Then Malachi, he should be starting. Don't get me wrong. But with him not, I'm like, okay, that makes it easier for Oregon there too. But then, Gentry, of course, I do love Lenora Sellers. That's someone I'm watching, South Carolina to see what he's gonna do with them. They also have Raheem Sanders there now. So what's this offense gonna look like under Lenora Sellers? Because I think he's a playmaker, has a great arm, has the mobility as well. So he could definitely go out there and ball. You gotta talk about Raiola, Nebraska, what that offense is gonna look like with Raiola there. I've been on Jamal Banks since he was at Wake Forest. Now he's over there at Nebraska with Dylan Raiola and also a former Oregon running back in Dante Dallowell as well there. So I'm excited to see what those two teams could do. Texas Tech, against Abilene Christian, they have Charles Brooks. As I mentioned, this running back class is going to be heavy. This is a deep class. Charles Brooks is one of them, and I don't think he's going to be a day 2 pick, but I think he's going to be a solid day 3 pick for any team because he's just a bowling ball when it comes to it. People were heavy on Kamani Vidal last year at Troy. Go out there and watch Charles Brooks at Texas Tech because this guy's going to go out there and just do some phenomenal things. So excited what's going to happen there. UCLA also, TJ Harden is someone that I'm excited for as well. They got a whole new system there at UCLA as well. They brought in Eric Benimini for OC there. So I'm excited to see what UCLA just does because I think they're an underrated team right now, and I think they can definitely go out there and showcase this season what they're all about as well. So stoked to see what's happening there. Man, I appreciate you coming on, Billy.
Sure.
Definitely a pleasure talking DEVY with you. I think we'll have more answers to our questions next week, and next week we can run it down again in the top 25. Let the people know where they can find you.
At Ombre Vendor on Twitter. If you want to hit me up, if you want to make fun of my takes, come on by. I'll take all visitors. And then we do a fantasy football podcast called Offensive Points for the IDP Plus channel. IDP Plus on YouTube or on where you find your podcast. You can just type it in. And our episodes are called Offensive Points, so you will be able to find us easily there.
Perfect, man. Well, hey, you're one of my favorite guests to have. Like I mentioned, you're in the what I consider one of the huge DGens because we're in the DEVY Superstar IDP C2C League, which is very stoked. I'm excited to get that season going back. Follow me on X at the PPR. So, talking DEVY football, IDP, getting some conversations with my man Billy here. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fantasy Football Universe YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Also follow us on X at the FFU Universe. And we're doing our Reddit Ask Me Anything AMA here shortly. It's actually going live here in about 20 minutes. So follow us there. Go ask those fantasy football questions. But until next time, I appreciate everyone joining. We'll be back here every Saturday to talk the top 25. Till next time. Peace.
Sure.